Perfect. Well, excited to be back on a stage. Sorry, I think it's been a little over a month. It's just been quite busy. A lot of things happening. A lot of good things. I think we have some. Mike actually put together a nice list of very interesting updates we're gonna go over today, and then I see Trika here, when Mainnet. We're gonna touch on that a little bit and discuss what we're working on. But yeah, big thanks. I think is this a new record, Mike? 70, or did we cross 80 last time?
We've
But it's
definitely,
up there.
yeah, we've been higher, but we're just starting. You never know.
We're just starting, yeah. But thank you so much for everyone who shows up to these all the time. It's awesome to get to do them with all of you. But Mike, we have a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So I can start off with a few things, and then I'll let Mike take over after. But so when it comes to what we're doing at the company, many things being in the works from new customer pilots that we hopefully can announce before too long when they turn into an actual contract instead of a pilot. Some other really big things that we can hopefully can come out with as well. We're expanding the team. We hired a new marketing person, Nika. She's in the Discord here somewhere. So she's focusing a lot on short form content and just doing a lot of cool things. Interesting background as a lawyer, so she's helping on many fronts, but focusing mainly on content now. We posted a picture of our new wall in the Wingbits office. We actually spent a lot of time as a team just thinking about like what's important for us as a company, where our focus area should be. And it really mainly serves as kind of like a template for hiring. When we hire someone, we want to make sure that they actually fit into our culture. And number one, obviously, community first, because I get have a lot of conversations and panels when they're asking like, what's what are the struggles of some of these projects and deepins out there? And I think it's always two things. One is revenue on the demand side, and the other thing is doing right by the community. Those are the main two things that you need to have for a successful project. So that's what we're doing. We have some new developers joining. I think we have hired three. A data engineer, some developers starting over the next 2 or 3 months. We have three people starting, um, which is cool. We also done a lot of interviews. I did some in Dubai during Token. They're going to come out, and I think it was Golf News. Obviously, we had one that came out in Wall Street Journal, which was exciting. I mean, it was not only about us, but we got featured, which I think is pretty interesting for a Deepin project to get featured in Wall Street Journal. We also had added some new features to the map. Obviously, the flight paths, which is the first iteration, but I think they're super fun to just click and watch. We've also added the altitude filter, so you can see what planes exist at what altitudes. Soon, we will come out with the search functionality, so you can actually search for specific flight IDs or plane or ICAO codes or flight numbers. So if you have someone that's traveling, they send you the flight information, you can search for it on the map. So that'll be interesting. We will also add on origin and destination here before too long, so you know where the plane is coming from, where it's going, and if it's on time or not. So some basic hygiene factors in terms of travel functionality. Our data scientist is also working on really refining the anti-gaming and anti-cheating processes and checks, which are now way more advanced than they were. So that combined with obviously the new hardware, the geosigner, it's going to put just the whole network at a different level of security, and really is going to benefit us commercially. And then obviously, Mainnet has not happened yet. We're going to touch on that, but I think I will let Mike go over some updates from his side, and then we can discuss Mainnet and how we're thinking about it and take questions. Mike, do you want to do that?
Sure. Not a lot of stuff, honestly. Uh, I I want to call out real quick that documentation is undergoing some changes. Uh, we have a very high ticket load. Just to give you a point of reference, it's usually somewhere right now around 500 tickets a month that are coming in that we're processing, which hopefully give you a little bit of perspective on why it takes longer right now to get a response or to get something solved than it did, say, 5 months ago. But we're working on that. We've increased uh, our staff. Chris, who's on the call right now in the audience, you guys have probably interacted with him if you made a ticket in the last month or so. He is onboarded and helping people out. He's awesome. So everybody say hi to Chris. But yeah, we do have a lot of tickets. We've identified some of the key reasons for some of these tickets, and I think we can improve it overall for everyone by continuing to refine our documentation, making some additions, and probably come back with some more videos. It's been a while since we put some videos out. I think it's challenging at times to make videos because we're in a state of flux. We're constantly updating or changing multiple components of our website. So it makes it really challenging to make a video that you're not going to be outdating yourself within, 3 weeks. So we're going to have to be a little selective on what videos to make, but I think we can help people that are having, onboarding challenges. We tend to hear the same questions over and over. So between documentation, videos, and some other stuff, I think we're going to make it easier on everybody. Speaking of onboarding, we've got almost, should happen this week, 40% of our network will be running, ready to run high-fix stations. So that's pretty cool. I mean, if you think back even just 2 months ago, it was pretty much 100% BYOD. So it's kind of cool that we're already to 40%, and they will overtake the geosigners in the next few months by quite a bit. Recent addition to one of the documents that was updated yesterday or added yesterday, a new page. I'm just announcing now. We'll make it more official on an announcement later, but exclusive for you guys. The retroactive bonus. Previously, we said you had to get your station or keep your station online after Mainnet so that you could earn that 20% bonus to your retroactive rewards. That's obviously problematic in case you deleted or in case you changed from, say, a BYOD to a high-fix station. So we're not going to do that anymore. We're still going to have the 20%, but instead, we're just going to require you to have a station online for the prior rewards day. So if you had your station online yesterday and the calculations are done tonight, you'll get the 20% bonus. If unfortunately you had your station down due to power or whatever else, then you won't get the 20% just for that day. Every day is a new evaluation, but this should work a lot easier for everybody. It's definitely gets rid of all the edge cases that we had that would have caused problems. And right now we're focused on what's the path of least resistance that requires the least amount of dev resources and company resources to keep moving forward. And this was a great option. I can clarify that further if anybody has any questions later. But last thing, we do have some additional 2FA changes coming. I know people have commented 2FA could be better, different. Some people don't even understand, I guess, what 2FA is or authentication apps. That document will be updated before tomorrow to help those people through the process, but we will continue to make two-factor authentication changes to the website so it's a little bit more intuitive. That's really all I had, Robin.
Yeah, no, but that's awesome. I think maybe we can first, and we can. I see some questions, but I know one question that I popped up early was obviously like mainnet. So I just cannot tell you how we're looking at it and our thinking, and we'll come up with more information in an actual communication soon. But so obviously we initially had a goal of mainnet earlier. But when you look at a few things. One, you look at the market. It's been a little bit of a weird market, but also if you look at the deepen segment specifically, it's in a little bit of a, what do you call it, a gull. So you have earlier you had a lot of money flowing into Bitcoin and meme coins. Now you have really mainly Bitcoin through mainly through like ETFs. But the deepen segment is seeing quite a low liquidity. So that's one aspect. It's not the most important aspect, it's just one aspect. But I think if you look at most projects when they launch, I think the biggest challenge for a deepen is balancing having a lot of revenue and not waiting too long for mainnet. Because there's a balance there. We really appreciate everyone being here. We don't want to sit and wait for 5 years to push mainnet just to build up more revenue. But we now are in a position where we actually think we're going to head into some really nice revenue within the next couple of months. So what we're looking at now is mainnet launch would make a lot of sense around end of summer, because then we would actually go into mainnet launch with good exchanges, which we have 4 commitments from different exchanges. I can't say who it is yet, but some of them are pretty nice. Unfortunately, not Binance yet, but also if it was Binance, we would probably have to give up half the project. So I don't think it's worth it. But we have some good exchange commitments. We want to maximize revenue before we go into mainnet, which we think will be there in a very good position before next couple of months. And then we also want to make sure that we have enough good partnerships lined up to give additional value to the token besides trading it on exchange. We are working on partnerships to convert the tokens to something useful when you travel. Could be an eSIM, could be airline miles, could be lounge passes, could be fast track passes. So some of these we're in the process of finalizing. Some nice partnerships. We want to finish that. So I think what I want to say is like our main, based on like what we put on our wall, if you launch mainnet too early and you're not ready, it's like short-term fun because everyone gets to go to mainnet, but long-term you actually really suffer both from a company perspective, but also especially from a community perspective. So we're really trying to balance this well. And right now it's looking like end of summer this year is a good time to launch, unless the world blows up, which we hope it doesn't. So I just wanted to kind of let you guys know, because I know it's probably frustrating to wait, and I really appreciate the patience of everyone in the community. But we are, we're working on it every day. Exchange listings, partnerships, monitoring the tokenomics to make sure we're in a good position. But also what is actually quite cool is that the only people that will have tokens unlocked at launch is the people that are mining the token. We have done 0 airdrops. We don't have any KOLs that get tokens that are unlocked at mainnet. No team member, no investor, no one has unlocked tokens at mainnet launch except the community. And the challenge with, in the deep in space, when you look at exchanges, is that the metrics that matter to an exchange are usually the opposite of what is important for a deep in from a business perspective. So balancing these two worlds is quite tricky, because if you get a great exchange listing and they say, hey, you need to give away 5% of your token supply as an airdrop, well, that's only good for the exchange. That's really bad for everyone else. So this is quite a challenge, I think, in the Web3 space, especially for projects like us that are trying to build an actual business that relies on revenue for long-term success rather than hype. So that's how we're looking at it. But open to take any questions. If I can answer, I will answer. But I just wanted to give you my thoughts on how we approach it.
Yeah, it's a far different methodology than if you were just making a meme coin. Because if you're making a meme token coin situation, you just want all the hype. You want everything smack dab on day one and a whole bunch of stuff happening. And
Yeah.
you know that over time it's going to kind of just peter out and that'll be the end of it. But as a business, your goal is to start reasonably strong and continue to grow. You're not looking at a 3-month exit and the project's over. You're looking at, how can I make this last 20 years, 30 years longer?
Exactly. And if you look at some projects that are performing well, I mean, one, at least from a revenue demand side, GeoNet is doing well. Their ARR is $4 million a year. They use 80% to buy back and burn. We think we'll be at not $4 million, but we'll be quite high by the time we reach end of summer. And we're going to put at least 50% back to buy back and burn. I think that's an important aspect to the whole project. So we want to be in a position where we can actually deliver right away. You can also look, I mean, for example, look at Hyperliquid. Very different project, but they generate about $10 million of revenue a day that they put back into the community. So like there's a clear correlation between revenue and good outcome. Then you look at projects that launch with no revenue. It is really difficult. Like, yeah, you may be okay for a little bit, but it is tricky. So that's why, yeah, I agree with Grumpy. Like, obviously, we don't want to wait, 2 years from now to mainnet. Like, we want it to go as fast as possible, but we also want to be it has to be a balance because no one here is going to be happy if we rush it and then it doesn't work well. Then it's like, what's the point? So yeah, so that's why we're looking at it. I'm gonna scroll back up, Mike, and see. No, I missed a bunch of questions.
All right.
Do. So Grumpy asked total amount of HiFix stations online. I checked. It says 1185. I think we onboard somewhere between 30, around 30 a day. I think it is when
Yeah.
I look because we get a message every time someone onboards. So essentially, how HiFix does it for us to know how many are being shipped out, they send us these lists, and we have received a list of 2,246 so far that's been provisioned and shipped out. Could be more, but that's what I know. JP Toledo asked how much pending. I believe the total amount of sales for the HiFix device is close to 5,000 now. Last I heard was 4,500. That was a few weeks back. I think it's close to 5,000, but it's somewhere between 4,500 and 5,000 total. 2246 have been shipped out, so 50, almost 50%, not quite. Rossi asked, what is the status of the satellite? Well, it's live. Actually, Mike, do you have the tracking link for the satellite that Alex sent? You can actually track it.
I do not. Not
Yeah.
not right now.
But Rossi, I will find a tracking link. You can actually click and you can see where the satellite is. But it is live and doing well. Yeah, JP Toledo, I don't know. I guess you're having sound issues. I'm not sure if it's only you. Let's see what else.
Quick note.
CU3.
I
Yeah,
know this
go
is
ahead.
not a question, but just real quick note. Like I get for anybody here that had one of the first, say, 1,000 units that were sent out by HiFix, that you did run into some challenges. I think some people are still onboarding a few of them where there was a firmware issue where it didn't work well with our client. And unfortunately, it just kind of had to sit there. HiFix is very committed to making sure the firmwares are updated and have been very diligent now on making sure that they're updated at least on a daily basis if they're behind. I know some of you are running 2032, and some of you are running 2033, and people have asked in the past, so I'm just saying this while it's on YouTube. 2033 fundamentally from a Wingbits perspective or even from a GeoNet perspective is not any different than 32. It's a minor change that was, I think just to be honest, transparent, it was, I think, originally intended as a quick test of something, and then it just kind of made it out into the wild. But the intent now is if you're on 32.32, your firmware is fine. But we noticed that we're down to a very small amount of people, literally like two handfuls of people that are still on an older version. And that could just be due to the fact that those people do not have their stations currently plugged in and connected to the internet. We keep track of them over time. So if you sent us heartbeats like 3 weeks ago and you haven't had it online since, you've had it packaged up in a box to send it to a host, then we still see that it's on the old firmware, but it's not been stuck there because someone didn't do something. It's just stuck there because it's been offline. So I just had to inject that real quick.
No, it's perfect. Perfect. Thanks, Mike. Let's see. Adrian asked, can I claim my rewards? You can claim them, the DevNet rewards, but I just want people, I think the claiming function right now is just to make sure it works. It doesn't matter if you claim them or not. The only thing that matters is the rewards that are showcased on your dashboard, the number there.
And there is, speaking of documentation earlier, there is a brand new page on the docs.wingbits.com site down in, ooh, hold on. It is down in the get started area. It's called DevNet Wallet and Rewards, which is a reasonable summary at this moment for everything we're talking about, like one-to-one conversion rate, 365 days, bonus available. Your current DevNet wallet will act as your, sorry, let's rephrase that. Your public Solana wallet address that you're using for DevNet will also translate over to Mainnet. It's the same wallet address, but there's many things listed on there to just try to clarify for everybody. So if you have any wallet, DevNet, or reward questions, kind of like Cello, I see yours, that is all on that page now. It's basically what Carmen just linked, except a lot more. A lot more.
Perfect. Perfect. So you kind of answered some of Cello's question. And at the end, so it's a one-to-one. If your station is online, you will get a multiplier for your retroactive rewards. If you're not online, you just get them one-to-one, one with Mainnet. And also he asked, can you tell us how many customers are there? So the only one we can publicly tell is Spire Global, because we had the announcement with them. One, we shot the satellite with them. We also have the CoinDesk article that highlighted our commercial partnership. So that one is public. And then we have a small airline that I can't say the name of. And then we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 6 or 7 that are in the initial onboarding pilot phase. Boom, boom, boom.
Matty is asking, by burning, do you potentially consume all the coins? It's something my wife actually asked me, because it's very confusing from a traditional currency standpoint. But if you think about it, there's many decimal places in a token for fractionalized tokens. Like right now, you can go buy, a million, not a millionth. Yeah, a millionth of a Bitcoin or whatever. So the idea is if you take half and then you have it again and you keep having it, you get smaller, but you don't run out. I actually did a thing with ChatGPT the other day, just out of curiosity, like how many halvings would it take to take this down to whatever, to the point where you run out of significant decimal places on the Solana blockchain. And I don't remember how many it actually was. So I guess that was a failed attempt that I can't now tell you, but it was like many hundreds of halvings. So I know there's some projects out there that do yearly halvings and everything. It's not what we do. But even in that case, if you were to just keep having it, it would be multiple lifetimes before it became an insignificant number. So interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. Do-do-do.
Did
Nice,
everyone
Rossi.
find their Willy Wonka tickets, Grumpy? I don't know. I'm curious myself, but then again, how many people would advertise that I found the Willy? For anybody that doesn't know, Mike Horton announced, geez, when was that? Last fall when pre-orders were going, that there would be I think 3 Willy Wonka tickets or something like that. It was 10,000 Geo tokens randomly in I think the first batch, first 2,000 or something of the MGW 310 or WB 200 boxes. And someone would just be able to get it and it would allow them to get 10,000 Geodet. But how many people are actually going to be like, I got one? I would just be on the down low. Yep, got mine.
By the way, Max posted the satellite tracking link under Grumpy's message there. Thanks, Max. Appreciate it. So, Rusty, if you want to click that and take a look.
Blood Crow. Will the MGW 310 WB 200 be a bit less hands off? If you're coming from a BYOD perspective, 100%. Once it's up and running, you really. Although I could argue BYODs for the most part are hands off, unless you have cats or what was it? The one ticket, I think Max or Chris would remember, somebody had a a maid that every time she came and cleaned the house, she was unplugging the station from the wall, like just to clean up and then not plugging it back in. Somebody was like, "Why does my station keep going down?" So, I mean, short of that, BYOD is pretty reliable. I will say the MGW 310 and the WB 200 are completely hands off once you set it up. I really appreciate the fact that it's all in one unit. I don't have to mess with anything. I don't have cables all over the place except for the one power Ethernet duo. So I like it.
Yeah. And a massive thanks to Grumpy for his nice comparison video between the WB200 and a BYOD device. Really appreciate that video. It was great. I watched it, the whole thing.
And the different antennas, trying out different antennas and
Yes.
stuff. So yeah,
Yeah, it was really good. Really good.
your
Really nice.
mileage may vary. Watch his video if you want. We're not endorsing it, but we are calling it out quite a lot.
Yeah, but it was nice. Let's see, where are we? Jim Bob MCT. What are the plans and timeline to crack down on those spoofing their location? A quick glance across Europe, for example, shows dozens of likely cheaters to learn awards. Yeah, so we've cleaned up some, and it will all be cleaned up before mainnet. And what we did last time we cleaned up is essentially, since we're still in testnet, if we just redistribute the rewards to who it should have gone to if someone has been cheating. So that all will all take place before mainnet. Adrian asks, who will buy the data? So it's a quite big market, but generally the people that buy the data is aviation analytics companies, people that work with airplane, like fleets, if they want to track a fleet they own, or if they're airplane lessor, and they use the data to make sure people adhere to the contracts in terms of how far they can fly and where they can fly. All the airplane manufacturers like Boeing, Airbus, they all buy the data. GE Aviation, financial industry buys the data because they use this data for M&A forecasting by tracking corporate jet movement, but they also buy it for to predict stock movements of commercial airlines that are publicly traded based on the performance that they can gauge from the data. Obviously, Spire's an aerospace company. They track planes from space, use our data as well to enhance their stream. You have insurance companies buying the data because, for example, one is from a risk exposure perspective. You need the data to see where all planes are at all times, how much time they spend on the ground to see, like, if there's an earthquake, what's the exposure. But also for simple things like if you fly, your plane is delayed, you want a refund, you look at this data to see when the wheels hit the ground because that's the landing time, and it has a timestamp. So it's a pretty significant market. And then, some people buy for carbon counting, flight delay prediction modeling, gate slot optimization. So a lot of prediction models are being built now on the data. So Cronster, total earned, that's the number that really matters. That's what will be distributed on mainnet. Total claimed is just how many of the total earned you've actually claimed on testnet to your DevNet wallet. Unless I get that wrong, Mike.
I'm sorry, I didn't listen to you, but
okay,
I'm sure it was
think
correct.
I think so.
I mean, Carmen posted the beta wallet, the bot response, and again, Chris further down posted the new doc, which should cover all that. Like, it's all out there to clarify, because I understand it's confusing, especially since we had like daily distributions and then we moved to claimable, and then the wallet balances don't match, and then people are confused, like, why is it only starting from this point forward? So tried to clarify everything in that page. If you see something or you still have a question after reading that page, seriously reach out to me. Just let me know and tell me what your question is. I'll make sure that document's updated so that it's clear for everybody. Grumpy and 120 have tandem questions, basically. Can we have a channel for the current firmware and maybe client as well, so people don't have to ask? And then 120 is bringing in can we have release notes for each version? So the answer to both of you is we will definitely have release notes in the changelog channel. We're just kind of coordinating a process. Sometimes we make client changes that don't affect anybody and it's not even visible anything changing on your end that you would see. So it makes it challenging to write. And sometimes it's maybe stuff we don't want to tell you, like stuff we're working on behind the scenes for perhaps, like anti-gaming. So there may be new versions at times that come out that we may just have to kind of say changelog stuff, super secret stuff. I don't know. As far as a channel for the firmware, I think Grumpy, honestly, the firmware thing is just kind of a one-time thing. I don't see this as a long-term issue. The biggest challenge was the stations that went out that didn't onboard properly, or did onboard, but the dashboard looked funky. We're over that hump now pretty much. I wouldn't be opposed. My concern is it's just going to be kind of static. And I don't want to have a channel where things just sit there forever. Maybe implementing it into the changelog as well, and figuring out a way to pin it then, so we have a pinned message that shows the latest. Maybe that's a good compromise. So we'll figure it out. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Mike. I think the next question I was missing is Adrian, who's asking if we will have having like GeoNet. Right now, we're not planning on it. We have a gradual decline over the first 5 years, and then it kind of flattens out. And I think it's more important to generate the revenue rather than having. It's also, I personally don't like having so much, but again, I'm not saying it's set in stone, but I don't like it because you join and then the next day you have the halving and it cuts your rewards in half. It just seems too drastic. I'd rather have a gradual decline. Let's see. I'm just reading, Mike. I'm on 120 now about the challenge coins and Wonka ticket. One golden ticket is what do you even get for a golden ticket? Does anyone what are you supposed to get?
10,000 GeoNet.
Oh yeah, that's right. Have you
Yeah.
seen the Office episode where Mike puts all the golden tickets in one shipment to one person?
No, but that's awesome. Let's do that.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Yes. Any interest in marine tracking? Yeah, so it would be a likely continuation of what we're doing because it's similar to what we're doing. Similar customer base and managing BC. So just keep your eyes and ears open, and maybe something will come. Let's see.
I was reading Rossi was saying I saw that one golden ticket had been announced as found. Huh, interesting. Cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then let's see.
Picture it didn't
Kristen,
happen.
Yeah. Did anyone ask about shipping estimate on units on order through Helium Deploy? Are you talking about cost or time? Because if it's time, I know they had an issue with the website where before you bought it, it showed a faster delivery date than what you got after, but I think they were supposed to fix it.
Yeah, it's resolved.
Yeah.
I mean, right now it's pretty much across the board, unless the retailer is buying units themselves and had no backlog. They're just purchasing limited units for resale. All the ones that have backlogs, I think, are all in the same scenario where you're about 6 to 8 weeks out at this moment. But I know HiFix has ramped up production and it continues to seemingly push stuff out pretty fast. So at some point soon, I would suspect we're going to get caught up. I can't imagine. I guess in a best case scenario, actually, people keep ordering tons of units and it is kind of a catch up thing. But HiFix is ramped up production, so I expect that we will get closer and closer. I think the last estimate I saw for any of the distributors for the latest point was sometime like late June. So even right now, we're just talking, 6 weeks away.
Let's see. Do you know where we are, Mike? I'm kind of lost a little bit.
I don't know, but we do have 7 minutes left. I just wanted to call out because you've got to go, right?
Yeah, I actually I have a meeting with Japan Airlines after this, so I got to prepare for that.
Got it. My miner is thermal throttling. Can it be replaced? Giga mining, I'd be happy to have you discussed it with HiFix? As far as I know, we have not seen any actual cases of thermal throttling. And I know there are ones running in very high temperatures right now, and they were temperature tested uh, at close to 60 degrees centigrade while the unit was running to show that it would withstand. And that's ambient temperature. So imagine it's 60 around the unit, plus the chip itself is obviously going to be much hotter than that. So I would reach out to HiFix if you think you have a situation related to hardware. Uh, they would be the ones to handle it, or directly through whoever your distributor was.
Yeah, I think directly to HiFix right away is probably my recommendation because the distributor won't really know so much about, checking the device to see if it's actually malfunctioning or not.
Right.
Zaggy Boy, I actually don't know if HiFix has started shipping out the EasyNav replacement or compensation orders, but I can check with HiFix, but I don't know. SDR dude says Newark needs maybe buy some data. Yeah, so actually when I actually drove from Toronto, we drove into Buffalo, and the guy at the border was like, "Oh, so why are you here for work?" And I told him, "We're doing this," and he said, "Oh, you need to talk to the Newark people." And I was like, "Yeah, maybe," but I actually think they're having some issues with the radar. It seems like that it's failing because when it comes to our data, FAA has a big initiative to actually replace radar with ADS-B long term. I think we maybe we're a good step on the way because with the current ADS-B networks, it's just not really secure. But also with aviation, to actually provide data that they would make critical decisions on, it's really difficult, and that's nothing we will do right now. Like our data is used for a lot of analytics and kind of like management, but not a critical decision making. But yeah, I don't know what's going on at Newark, but hopefully it gets solved because I feel bad for all the people traveling through there, and it's hopefully no accidents happen. Let's see. Gotcha. What percentage of the entire plane trip does Wingbits network track? This was a new feature added to the map, and just curious how much the plane trip we're actually tracking. So if you're talking about the flight path, if you click the flight and you see a really long line that's kind of straight without the dots in between, that's usually where we didn't track it. But if it's like domestic flights within Europe or US and now also down to Middle East and India, we actually track a large part. I think when we benchmark our data, you take like I think it's noon UTC, how many planes do you capture at that specific time versus, for example, with the biggest networks, we are like 70 to 75% of the way. So we're really not far off. And based on current growth rate, by the end of the year, we should reach global coverage, and that will make it a lot easier to scale revenue a lot faster because so many buyers kind of want global coverage. So Isaac, we on the lower altitude. So this we will come out with communications on this, but it will also be visible on the map. So initially it's going to be about I think it's the 474 largest airports, and around that airport will almost be like a super hex, so to speak, kind of like GeoNet has, but it will be smaller. But so there will be 7 smaller hexes around the airport, but each of those hexes will have the same rewards as a big hex. So if you track lower altitudes in that little column, you can get quite a bit more. But it's not, we have it running in the back just to check it. It works fine, but we're going to add it on the map so it's easy to see where it is. It also needs to be easily visible on your dashboard. So it'll be a lot more rewards if you get on-ground traffic at these bigger airports. The low altitude bonus will not be retroactive because from a calculation point of view, it is near impossible. It will be going forward. Let's see.
2 minutes left.
2 minutes left.
Pick the right questions.
If you see something, Mike, that you feel like I'm just reading.
Jim Bob's question is basically tokenomics 2.0. Understand the original rationale for doing it. Now that it's been a few weeks, do we still think the balance is right, or might there be further tweaks to any part of it, like a tokenomics 3.0?
I mean, I know our data team is looking at it all the time. It's definitely more balanced. I do think it's going to be, obviously we're implementing this low altitude rewards to further incentivize airport deployment. I think I can't say. I mean, there's not going to be any, from what I see, major changes, but there will definitely be some smaller tweaks as we go. Because we want to make sure it scales properly as the network grows now over the next couple of months, and that's another reason. We want to make sure we feel really good about the tokenomics before mainnet. So another 2 or 3 months of monitoring and tweaking a little bit will make it put in a better position. But it's more balanced. There may be some small tweaks.
And we're out of time.
Oh, we're out of time. Oh, so many more questions. I guess we were slow, maybe. So, hey, last question. Heyman asked at the end, what airports are considered as big airports? We will actually show them on the map what airports. But if it's an international airport, it's a big airport. If it's a private little airstrip behind a little area of houses that is a grass strip, that's not a big airport. So if it's commercial airlines flying in, most likely it's a big airport. Really appreciate it, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. If you had questions and they didn't get answered, please post them in general and we'll answer them there. Thanks so much. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.